You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free.
Welcome to our podcast on metacognition and effective teaching and learning. This podcast was recorded in the University of Limerick on Tuesday the 4th of November by Jessica Leary, Brien Nolan and Ailbhe O'Brien. This podcast will explain what metacognition is. We are going to examine people's awareness of their metacognitive knowledge and how they would use this knowledge to learn effectively. We will then look at strategies for using metacognition and how these strategies can be applied in a classroom setting for both teacher and student. But first, what exactly is metacognition?
Flavel describes metacognition as the knowledge concerning one's own cognitive processes and products, or anything related to them. In other words, metacognition is just thinking about thinking. Make any sense? Let's take a look at it one step at a time.
Metacognition. Another big fancy word that I don't know anything about. Well, it's actually not that difficult. See, metacognition is just thinking about thinking. So you're thinking about what you're thinking about while you're thinking. Okay, so that's a lot of thinking. What if we just narrowed it down to thinking about something that needs to get done, and then thinking about, well, what is the best way for me to get there, especially for doing stuff in school. A strategy in class could be asking yourself questions like, how am I doing? Does this make sense? Can I teach it? And change things if you're off track. Another way to think about it is, are you doing things differently depending on the task or subject? Or are you trying to do the exact same thing over and over, hoping you'll get the right results, getting really frustrated, and wonder why your marks aren't as good as you want them to be? So, part of metacognition is understanding how your brain works and taking more control of your learning. Knowing exactly what works and what is hard for you can become your strategies that you can use when you're faced with a challenge. Then you'll know exactly how, when, and why you're doing what you're doing.
Before we develop our metacognitive strategies, we first of all need to look at the elements of metacognition. First of all, we must look at our knowledge. On a personal level, we must examine what do we know about ourselves and the way we learn. What are our strengths and weaknesses around how we process information. We must then analyse the way we go about a task and what is required to complete the task. For example, when we sit down to write an essay, do we create a plan about how the answer will be structured, or do we just start writing? Finally, we must look at our previous knowledge, how we have completed similar tasks in the past. Take our essay for example. What worked well the last time we wrote an essay? But also, what did not work as well? As teachers, we need to provide our students with the ability to use their own knowledge to regulate their learning, by monitoring their own comprehension and assessing their own abilities. Peter has developed his own strategy for thinking. Let's take a look.
What you showed me today was just awful. What are you talking about? I really don't see what's so great about being a regular person. The bus smells like crap, the movie theater's sticky, and Renee Zellweger should only be the cute friend at best.
You know, I never thought about it till now, but maybe being a regular person does suck.
My God, is this what my whole life is destined to be? Not unless you do something about it.
Yeah, but what?
Carter, hand me my thinking grenades. Where'd you get these?
Shh, Carter, I'm thinking. Uh-huh.
Oh my God, he's dead!
That might work.
What's happening?
I got it.
Being able to apply metacognition in the classroom is vital to one's learning. There are various ways of bringing the concept into the class. Some of these include providing opportunities to give feedback to students, but also for students to give feedback to the teacher. Teach students to summarize material, particularly after a topic is covered, and allow the students to think about the material and summarize what they've learned. Another way is to educate students to rate their own comprehension. This allows the students to reflect on their understanding of a certain topic. A student-focused method is to keep a daily thinking log. Students are able to keep track of their initial thoughts and examine them when they feel it is the correct time. Demonstrate their thinking with activities. This allows the students to act out or portray their understanding based on metacognition.
So what are the benefits of effective metacognitive strategies and regulation in the classroom? Good teachers are highly metacognitive. They reflect on their expertise and teaching and refine their pedagogy accordingly. Metacognitive skills are tools that empower the learner. Pupils very often fail to see learning as a cycle that involves revisiting previous work to see where it can be improved, acknowledging the value of mistakes, and planning improvements on this basis. Instead, research shows that they are inclined to attribute successes to good luck and failures to lack of ability. Such beliefs serve to make some students helpless, believing that there is little they can do to affect the outcome of the lottery of good grades. By showing a learner that they can be in control of how they study, how they organise their work, and how they reflect upon it, we encourage them to take responsibility for learning and demonstrate that it is an active process, reducing the mystery that some pupils imagine shrouds their learning process. Learning just doesn't happen if you sit in the classroom for long enough or read the same page enough times. Metacognitive thinking will therefore also support the observation, planning, monitoring, and evaluation that is required for a successful classroom environment. The capacity to understand and regulate their own thinking benefits students of all ages and abilities. The use of metacognitive thinking and strategies enables students to become flexible, creative, and self-directed learners. They possess a number of strategies to best cope with the information they need to interact with and can assess which ones to use at the most appropriate times. Metacognition particularly assists students with additional educational needs in understanding learning tasks, in self-organizing, and in regulating their own learning.
So there you have it. Metacognition is beneficial to both teachers and students. Metacognition sets out a foundation to achieve greater understanding through visible learning as outlined by John Hattie.
You better say